Hey guys, welcome to Speak Up, the podcast for students who want to hear teens' inside opinions about middle and high school regulations. I'm your host, Chloe Lyman, and I'm here to represent students who are looking for their voice in how schools are run. In this episode, we are going to chat with Emily Stafford, a student with strong opinions about cell phone use in school, and Daniela Mejia, a student who disagrees with this regulation. They will share their opinions about the school's off and away all day policy. Let's dive in. Hey Daniela and Emily, thank you for joining us on this episode of Speak Up.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. This is going to be really fun.
Today we'll be discussing the off and away all day cell phone policy at our school. This means that the school prohibits the use of cell phones during class, although students are allowed to use them before and after school. There are some downsides to students bringing phones to school, but today we'll hear about the positive aspects as well. Emily, what is your opinion about the cell phone policy?
I agree that we aren't allowed to have phones in class because it can distract. It can have just negative impacts on their mental health and addictions to the phone.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
And Daniela, what are your views?
Well, mine are kind of different from Emily's because I feel like phones could be good in school. Like for emergency situations, some students could quickly contact parents, and sometimes phones could be used for educational purposes, like calculators, research, educational apps, and it could also help students manage their time for calendars instead of some kids forgetting those. So
Yep.
it could also help.
Yeah, those are very different opinions. What are your reasons for being against phones in school, Emily?
As I previously mentioned, they can be a big distraction because during tests, it would just be easier access to cheating. And then also, there's most schools use Chromebooks instead of phones, which has a much bigger screen, which lets the teacher easily see what their students doing.
So they know they're not doing something wrong.
Yeah, and then they also can have apps to track what they're doing. But then also, phones just being in the area can just distract them and make them want to use them, all that.
And what about you, Danny?
So Emily had some really good points right there, and I'm going to go with my evidence and say sometimes, yes, phones could be distractions, but they also could help. Like for some students with disabilities, phones could offer technology that they're not used to, which could actually help them learn and could calm them, which is kind of good. And even though phones have the appearance of being this technology that isn't great for some kids, it also could really help them in some ways, and it could provide some positive impact on their lives.
Yeah. I wonder what most middle schoolers would agree with, Emily or Daniela? Emily, go deeper into your opinion about not having phones in school.
So basically, there's distractions, all of that, but there's also some danger in it. Like Danny mentioned, they could call for help during emergencies, but they could also distract during emergencies. Sounds of the phone could attract people, or could distract from people trying to help them get to safety and all of that.
It could be a big danger in an emergency.
Yeah.
And Daniela, what are your deeper points?
So I could see that there is a valid concern, but distractions could come from anything. With clear rules and proper digital literacy education, students can learn to stay focused. Banning phones doesn't teach self-regulation. It just delays the problem. Schools should work to provide devices for those without phone, because most people don't have phones and some do. And if you're banning it for the people who do, and I know it would be fine for people who don't, but still, it still provides a key person for people's lives, because that's sometimes phones are a way to communicate, and sometimes they can have different meanings. So taking somebody's personal property or banning it where they can't bring it, it kind of could leave some negative impacts.
Do you have anything else to add, Emily?
I do. So, I've seen some people that are supporting phones, saying that they could have really good uses in class, like calculators, all that stuff. But the problem is phones are really expensive, and some homes don't have the money to buy phones. So some students, the majority of students could just not have phones and could be at a disadvantage, which could be unfair.
There are many different points about having phones or not having phones that each support each side very well.
educational tools, communication, safety, organization, and time management are all good things about phone. But there are also a lot of cons, like distraction, disruption, cheating, cyberbullying, which is a huge issue, social issues on social media, and equity issues, because like we were talking about, not all students can have phones. What are your other bigger points about your side, Eddie?
Well, I'm gonna say most people when they think about phones, they see this object that kids use all the time. Their eyes are literally glued to it. They don't stop. And yeah, I could see that, mostly from the parents' sides and everything. But most people think about banning phones from the teacher's point of view. The teacher would be like, my kid, this kid in my class, they were on their phone, and they were distracting other kids. But when you go to the point of view of the students, they weren't on the phones purposely to distract people. They were on the phones for learning stuff or anything they needed. They could have been calling their parents. They could have been doing an educational thing. And I feel like phones should be allowed, and we should mostly, while allowing it, we should mostly look at the point of view from some students instead of some teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because the
Thanks.
students are the ones with the phone.
Students are the ones with the phone, yeah.
Yeah.
And teachers aren't even the one. That's a good point, because teachers, their phones aren't getting banned because they can still use the phones. It's just the students' phones getting banned.
That's true. It's kind of unfair in that way.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys have changing opinions after hearing this evidence?
I feel like it's kind of good to be at a neutral point where phones typically aren't allowed, but there can be times where phones can be allowed, like students with family
compromise.
issues. Yeah, compromise. Like if students have a family member with health issues, they could keep a phone or some device to keep in contact with them.
Or if the student has health issues?
Yeah, that too.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I could see.
Like a
There's
compromise.
points where I could tell phones should be banned in some ways. As most people do, I have a sibling whose eyes are literally glued to their phones
Or
and
a screen all
or
day?
screen all day and basically on Fortnite 24/7. And I could tell some kids do that at school, and I could see for the teachers that can be a bit of a challenge to try and teach stuff when there's some kids not paying attention. So I could see points on the other side, but it just depends who you're really who it is and what's happening in the situation. Mostly depends on the situation and stuff. But yeah, seeing from the other side, it kind of shows the difference in everything.
Schools have two options when it comes to phones. They can A, allow phones in school and have them for use as educational tools. Or B, they can ban them so that students don't get distracted. If used in a healthy way, phones can be good, but most often kids don't use them in a very healthy way. Is there anything else anybody wants to add?
I think I covered everything.
Yeah, thanks, Chloe.
Thanks for sharing, guys. You both had really interesting points.
Yeah, thanks.
That wraps up this episode of Speak Up. We hope you enjoyed our discussion of the cell phone policy. We want to say a big thank you to our guests, Emily and Daniela, for sharing their insights with us today. And thanks to you for listening to this episode. Until next time, this is Chloe L, the Speak Up Podcast, signing off.